Okay, I would like to call the meeting of the Permanent Manager Committee to order at 2:08 PM. I think that's right.
I'll take notes.
Chrissy will take minutes for us.
Thank you. I was gonna bring that up. So, let's call the roll.
Supervisor Carey,
Present.
Treasurer Yeaple, not yet present. Clerk Flintoff, present. Trustee Riser, absent. Trustee Brandt,
Present.
Trustee Noel,
Present.
Trustee Monk, absent. We have quorum.
Okay, so now we will move to the adoption of the agenda. Does anyone see any changes to this?
I don't.
Sort of, if not sort of, it is the same topics we've had before because we're still on the first one.
So I want to be sure, going back here. Do we want to add an item to the agenda about defining, reviewing issues with our current allocation supervisory responsibilities?
Yes, do we need it as a separate agenda item or could it be covered under the status report from Christie? I have no problem adding.
I think anything's fine. In the prior meetings, we've just talked about how things are going under the status report, but we can make it explicit if you want.
It would seem cleaner.
What would it be?
Review of current board member or supervisory responsibilities while we are functioning without the permanent.
Could I just shorten that to
You
temporary supervisory responsibilities? Okay.
Yes.
Would that be after F1? Or after F2?
I think after F1
Yep.
makes sense.
That's fine.
Okay, so are we all in agreement with the agenda with that modification? Any others? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Actually, we need somebody to move the agenda as adopted.
Sure, thank you.
I move the agenda
I
as adopted.
second it.
Okay. With that said, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we're gonna move to public comment.
Do we have anybody in the public? No. Let's see, we have one hand raised, Paula's iPhone. Go ahead, Paula.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And I actually am really pleased with this new board. And, but I hold everybody accountable for whatever goes on. But I don't feel like I have to be on Zoom Live all the time and all the other things. So maybe we'll get a lot of things accomplished, especially with the budget. But this is not pertaining to the manager, but I want to let you know, I still watch all the meetings, including the zoning meeting. That somehow didn't get up on Scio Community News, the last one. I wanted to say, I'm glad to see different people on committees. I'm very happy about that. Land preservation, I watched that. And with David Reed and Judy. And I forgot the lady's name, Gail. I think it's Gail. She's a newer member who's doing the treasury issues and different things. So it'll be interesting to see some type of. I know that Barry Lonick has gotten a lot of grants and all that. I just like to see accountability is one of the things that I think this board is really going to do with programs, committee suggestions. And Kathleen Brandt, I'm so happy about people now recusing themselves if they have some type of special interest. I also wanted to say, after the whole brownfield, I was actually there in person. I've had issues with the brownfield since the ZEB. We need some types of policies about that so we can look at. So we need a brownfield policy to make it short. And the next thing is, I'm glad Judy got $50,000 out of the DDA, which was actually from their own millage. And every person, I would like to see this put in the newsletter to make people aware that the DDA or other organizations possibly take money from our millages. And specifically, the last one is the fire millage, because I think it's $250,000 a year at the DDA. And having watched that meeting, their only proposal I saw then was to pay for their fire inspections for the businesses. And I think that a lot of people that voted for the fire millage wanted to see some other uses for that money. But that's for a whole nother discussion about DDA and their road district and different things when they wanted the board to pass SAD for Dino and those other roads. And let's see, I wrote down a couple of things here because I've been actually pretty sick. Well, grandkids. We had an early Christmas because my daughter came in from Portland. And I've brought this up. A lot of people don't follow the Gelman dioxane issue like I have, for very involved. And I guess I'm glad to see the permit issued in some ways, but I want the public to realize whether it's an on-site sewer system, if you look at that permit, they'll say right in there, we're not responsible for the groundwater. We're only responsible to give you bottled water. And, you know, having been around at the beginning of Gelman, and, you know, my whole thing to everyone who lives in Scio, be involved in your community in some way. And I never want to see the newsletter stopped, like as was proposed, or Zoom meetings. And everyone, I'm going to remind again, Scio Community News, but you can also go to put the app on your phone. And I'm not even a techie person. So I think, congratulations for, that was on the Parks and Pathway to trustee Judy Monick. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your last name right. And for the $50,000, however, maybe it had something to do with a different board existing at this point, in my opinion. But I like where she's headed and how she thinks. And then I was surprised that the Sloan Park property, that all had to be, because I actually, believe it or not, will watch Dexter's meetings. And the whole thing about the annexation, we had to do the Sloan and the many hands all together. So it'll be interesting to see why all of a sudden we can split that up. But I've been against buying polluted property. You cannot get rid of that arsenic. We don't even know the levels. The same thing with brownfields. If you read about brownfields, they don't have to tell you what's in there. And I think that should be part of the policy to disclose. I know the West Washington, that some people went and got a FOIA to get some information on what was going on with that brownfield in Ann Arbor. I think that's about it. But I am concerned about sustainability, conservation. I had a gentleman run into me. I don't know how probably when I had my meltdown over the corruption and FOIA things with that one meeting in the summer. And they said to me, well, you know, climate change is real. And my response was, yeah, but I think we should be really focusing on the clean water in this, whether it be flushing your toilets and what's going on. I've been a big supporter of our sewer district. And people don't know what's really going on there. So when you start having an open committee, we need to have an open committee meetings on that sewer water district. And as far as putting any new developments, until we really have the capabilities, it isn't fair to the people that are existing on that sewer water. And
Well,
I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm glad we don't have the stopwatch. That's it.
Yeah.
How about the buzzer?
Yeah, you can have a buzzer.
No, I'm kidding. The buzzer was terrible.
No, but
Thank
I'm
you,
just
Paula.
saying, remember when they would ask people, well, can trustee Dreiser or whoever, and oh, this made me think of it when I said, when somebody is continually missing a meeting, we need some rules about that.
Yeah, well, we will try to address that, Paula. Thanks for being so informed.
Yeah,
Do we
thank
have-
you.
Do we have anyone else? That wants to-
We have one more hand raised at this moment, Jonathan Greenberg. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. Just
Hey,
want
Jonathan.
to wish you all a happy new year.
Thanks, Jonathan. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public comment? I see no hands raised.
Okay, the next agenda item is approval of the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review the draft minutes?
I did. I just had a question about going from page 1 to 2. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I think Judy did excellent minutes.
Mhm.
Under that last paragraph, page 1, considerations, and then she has a bulleted list. The last item on the bulleted list is critical need for township to have a performance management, performance evaluation.
Program.
Okay, so that's, thank you. And then page 2, there's a standalone sentence, code enforcement homed to DFO. What does that mean?
Director of Operations.
Yeah, we said that would report to.
Yeah, so code enforcement, does homed to mean report to? What does homed to mean?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to.
Would you like to
Code
change
enforcement
it?
officer.
If that's,
would
is
be
that the
under-
intention?
Sounds like it, but we can change it to report to.
Yes.
Yeah. If that makes.
Is that what we
Let's do
stated?
that.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So code enforcement would report to, okay, thanks.
Anybody have anything else? Okay, can we have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor to approve the minutes with the modifications we just suggested? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now we're moving into unfinished business, and this is F1 status report from Chrissy Aiken.
Hello, everybody. The only thing that I'm reporting is we've been working on budgets, all the departments, and then submitting their budgets to Ally. A lot of folks were off for the holidays. But other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But
The heat's working.
the heat's working.
Working well.
It's working
Yes,
very well.
finally.
Yeah,
It's back to normal.
the heat. It's, yeah, it's not what it was. Yeah.
As normal as it can be. in its
Yeah,
current
right. I mean, it
conditions.
still needs to be properly repaired, but yeah, it's working and.
Both of the parts were replaced. I know that they were coming in at separate times.
There were two different ones that were being replaced. I'm not sure which ones happened at this point.
Okay, seems like they were, yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay, anything else?
No,
Yeah. Right, so then let's move to, what is now F2. How did we describe it?
Review of current temporary supervisory responsibilities.
No, F2 is Scio Township Administrator job description.
No,
I think at the top when we amended the agenda, Jillian, we added what Kathy was suggesting.
So that's F2 now instead of
Yes.
F3,
Yes,
because F2 was already assigned.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, sorry. So F2 became F3, inserted in between F1 and F2 is a new F2, review of current temporary supervisory responsibilities. So temporarily, we have, Christie had made the recommendation at the last meeting regarding IT. Well, we had made that recommendation, came out of a conversation.
correct.
You've talked to Chris and Julio and they're all
Yeah.
on board? Okay,
Mhm.
good.
They're both aware of it.
Okay, great.
Good.
What did we decide?
That I would supervise
That's right.
Chris and
That's
then
right.
Julia would report to Chris.
Right, right.
Okay.
Which is how it was always designed, but temporarily Julio had been reporting to HR because Chris was out. So
Yeah.
he's back now. So
And
now it's
because he was a
kind
new
of-
employee.
he was brand new.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Orientation. Okay, so, I have noticed some, concerns about the utility department. I think there should be some consideration for changing that responsibility in light of Jillian, I believe you have maybe more responsibilities on your plate than you should have at this point.
I disagree.
Okay, this was always a temporary.
That's right, until we had a permanent manager.
Always subject to review by the board.
Absolutely, but I disagree with this. This is just what I am finding with this supervisory duty with the utilities under me is that people have interfered without communicating to me what they want or what they believe should happen. I have been left in the dark. There's things that have happened that I didn't even know about until a resident brought up to me. I should have been informed all along. Just like other things like the budget, I should have been involved all along. I was a trustee before. Everybody knew I was running for supervisor. The budget is under the supervisor. So all along, I should have been communicated with, just like other things.
We're not
So,
talking about the budget.
well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. This is what I am bringing up, is that you say I have too much responsibility. However, nobody's communicating with me.
Jillian, I don't want to argue with you and we've had, Ryan and I had we had 2 meetings before November 20th to go through the budget timeline and process before it even came to the new board on November 20th. And I've told you, and I mean this, I'm
So you and Ryan had a
with
conversation?
you in my office.
Well, that was your agenda that you proposed.
That was based on what we've done for each of the last 3 years, informed by our interim finance director around Rebecca's vacation schedule, around lots of considerations for discussion. So I know we're not talking about the budget, but I do have to disagree. I mean,
Well, it's another example
have
of lack of communication
communicated.
and assumptions.
Okay, so I would say, I find that, I mean, utilities, I think we have made some course corrections as we've been at this table. I think with IT, I think with HR, we've made a couple changes. I really think with utilities, we have a lot of moving parts in utilities. I think Christie's done a great job of stepping up, and I think Christie would be capable of supervising the utilities director. And it would kind of further align where we're gonna be going with a future director of operations or manager. We've got, some eco violations, we've got performance issues, we've got
Yes, and those,
things where we really need some kind of consistent, full-time, I guess what I mean is it makes sense in my mind to have the same person supervising the kind of core operations as Christie is for, parks and other functions.
well, Christy, Brandon, and I have been working really well together, even though Christy, the utilities hasn't been under Christy. And there have been things that have been brought to me that have been issues and that sat down with Brandon and we came to a solution together. We communicated back and forth on these different issues and how we got to the point of having the issues in the first place. Then we created a plan which was sent out to everybody. Excuse me?
I'm just kidding. I wanted to have her call on me eventually.
Okay, well, so this is where I'm coming from.
Okay.
And we came up with a plan, everything was fine. I feel like it's somebody's taking a stick and beating a dead horse over a lot of these issues that were already taken care of.
That's not, the intention is hopefully to take away some responsibilities that might be causing you stress. I don't know
No,
what they are.
no, excuse me. Don't assume that you know what is causing me stress. You know
Okay.
what's causing me stress is the lack of communication and the lack of collaboration. And this is what we ran our campaigns on.
It's fair.
And I
we
feel
say-
like I am being maligned and pushed aside.
No, not,
Yes.
that's not the intent.
No,
Well, where's the communication?
people are trying to communicate right now.
Right now. So Kathy, would you like to say?
No.
Yeah,
It's
I-
true.
I have a few things I'd like to say.
Mhm.
I think there are several reasons to reassign the utilities supervision to Christie, and I'm gonna propose also Aurora. We have had recurrent eagle violations.
Two.
That's two.
Yes, but
more than
also
one.
we put Rich
Okay.
into a situation that
Shelley,
pushed into that, in
Let's
that
not talk
job.
about
Could
specific
you
people
let Kathy finish?
in public, please.
Okay, the field supervisor.
Okay, could you
Okay.
continue, please?
I am concerned as a board member about two emails that I think have problems and probably were inappropriate that have been sent to all board members from the utilities department. We can go into those details if you're confused, but I would suggest a better approach is to work with Aurora on this and deal with it in a meeting situation that isn't a public meeting right now. Because I think we have some issues in the utilities department. Now I want to go on. You talk about lack of communication and collaboration. I want to remind you that last Friday, you called for a special board meeting. It was arranged 2 days before Friday, during a holiday week. When it was originally set up, you knew 3 trustees were not available because the 3 of us had responded to Christie previously, the week before or a week and a half before, about our availability for a site visit to the Superior Township Utilities Department on that day, either in the morning or the afternoon, and several of us were not. I wasn't available in the morning, and you knew that. But I was available in the afternoon, and I was scheduled for the afternoon, but you arbitrarily canceled the afternoon meeting, scheduled a meeting in the morning when you knew I wasn't available, and I would have come if I could have. And then when you learned that 3 other board members weren't available, you insisted on convening the meeting.
No, wait a minute, wait a minute. No, everybody, most people were scheduled for that morning. Jessica, Kathleen, Ryan, Christy. I would have been available, but the reason why it was split up is so we could have not quorum.
But they
That's
then
not accurate.
said,
Well, it
That's
is
not
true, because
accurate.
that's why it was split up into 2.
That's not true.
Well, that's what my understanding, that's what I was told. So when the
I don't
residents
think-
wanted to go on this, which came about just because there was this, residents were interested after the CIP meeting in front of the board. They were interested in more education. So they had a conversation with Brandon. And he says, well, you know what, we're going on this field trip. Why don't you come along? And then board members we didn't even know about this. Board members were talking about, oh, this is inappropriate. Everybody's got to be
you're
involved.
confusing issues.
No, it's
What-
not. But in
No, I
order
was
to have the
talking
Open
about
Meetings Act,
My issues. I was scheduled for the afternoon meeting. You unilaterally canceled that, moved it to the morning, even though you knew I wasn't available in the morning and others weren't available in the morning.
everybody else was available in the morning except
No.
for John.
I was
Apparently not.
But you were signed up under Christie's list. She gave me the list.
So when you called the meeting, but when you called the, and I'll just say, I'll just lay it out, and I know,
Well, I want to
Chris-
finish
oh,
laying it out,
excuse me.
Jessica.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Okay, so then you invite residents, which is fine, but you
I didn't
should,
invite
whoever
residents.
invited, somebody invited them. They were invited by a representative of the township in some capacity. And it shouldn't have been just a select group of residents. The opportunity should have been made available to others.
That's right. That's why
It
we
should have
need
been
to have
posted.
a meeting for the Open Meetings Act, so quorum and
With
all
2
residents
days
to be
notice
invited.
during a holiday week?
Well, then we shouldn't have even scheduled this during holiday week.
But what was
It was
all,
internal.
yeah, it was
It was
internal.
an internal
There were
tour.
some who could
my
have gone.
understanding.
I would have gone, but now, okay,
But some
so.
board members
but-
got together and decided that
No,
those
let me
residents
finish.
should be
I'm still not
uninvited.
done. Keep interrupting me. I'm also concerned that you held the meeting. There was no quorum, so you had to cancel the meeting. But you didn't announce that the residents and you and Brandon were going off to do the field trip. You didn't announce that.
Well, I talked to Mariah about how to handle this whole situation. And this is what she instructed me. She said it's fine because Superior
Okay.
invited us.
I talked to Mariah also. And she told me she advised you not to do it.
No, that's not true.
Well, that is what she told me.
That's not what she told me.
Okay. So let me move on. The fact that you went ahead and did this trip to Superior Township, didn't announce it to the public, was problematic for me. And the whole way this was handled, it exhibited poor judgment. It shouldn't have been handled this way. You talk about lack of communication and collaboration. You just gave us an example of lack of communication and collaboration. You're not working with board members. You're not working with a board member, me, I can speak for myself, who was very willing to engage in this situation. And
Well, I feel the same way.
you intentionally cut it off for me. So,
No,
yeah,
I didn't
it's
intentionally
done.
cut it off for you. I was trying to do the right thing by the Open Meetings Act.
That is
Really, and this,
irrelevant.
this is what she feels
Yes,
happened.
and this is how I feel.
That-
Well, I'm talking though. You keep interrupting me. So I want to say, I support assigning the utility supervisory responsibilities to Christie and Aurora. It does offer consistency with the supervision
Wait a minute.
of most of the township responsibilities. I'm concerned about
My lack of
what's
judgment.
gone on here. I hope we can have a more detailed conversation about it. I'm very concerned about what's gone on here.
So who's assigned under Aurora
What do you mean under Aurora?
right now? You said that utilities, you're gonna have utilities under Aurora and Christie. But we just took IT away from Aurora.
Because the IT person that was assigned to Aurora was a new employee at the time he started. It wasn't that, oh, IT goes to Aurora. It wasn't that. He was a new employee. Now we have Chris Bailey back
He's direct
in the
supervisor
township.
back.
He
So then
is the
why
direct
not?
supervisor
Okay,
for
but
Julio.
then Brandon should be the direct supervisor for the utilities. That would report to,
This isn't the way
Yes.
we set it up though, Jillian.
He is, I'm sorry, just to clarify, Jillian, I don't think anybody, Brandon is the director of utilities.
correct,
Yeah.
but we're going to have him under Christie and now Aurora too.
I believe you
Potentially.
said,
It's my idea.
I believe what you said, you can correct me, is the collaboration with Christie, I'm sorry, with Aurora, of if there were any issues with that position.
But that's true for any position, right?
Right.
And if I could digress, Aurora, let me ask you. And do you think it would be reasonable for you and Christy to be assigned to supervise the utilities department, given what you know about what's gone on?
Utilities director or department?
I'm
The
sorry,
director,
Director.
okay, director.
yeah.
So with my position, and I think Jessica, you were the one that said it, that HR collaborates anyway with
Yeah.
any department head, manager, et cetera. So yes, I am very willing to collaborate with Christy in this process as I would any other department head or management. I think it would align maybe the operating processes along with all the other direct reports that she has right now.
I think it would make sense as long as we had kind of clarity that like the office coordinator, that I don't want to be in a position where we give somebody two supervisors. You know, so that there would be, you know, clarity that it might be the office coordinator, you know, with support as needed from HR generalist, something like that. I don't know if that could be
I'm
refined.
already aware though that she's available at any time. Not just for utility
Okay.
purposes, but if I ever have any question or need HR support, I definitely go to her already.
So what you're suggesting, it's not two-person reporting.
Right.
it's
Right,
one person
what I'm
reporting.
saying is I'm already clear that if I have questions or want some support as to what may or may not be happening, she's the first person I go to.
Are you okay assuming that volume of work?
I am,
Yeah, and Christie should have a raise then. Because we keep piling on to Christie more and more, and she needs to be compensated for more work. Just like other employees that we pile on. We need to review all of that, but Christie, we agreed to pay you, I think up to 40, I'm sorry, it's been a while.
it's a percentage, yeah.
20%.
Yeah, I'm suggesting more.
So,
Okay,
That's something the board could look at.
right. Seems like a second
Seems
conversation.
And that probably should be looked at before she takes on the responsibility.
Aurora and I looked at that originally. I think we could look at that again quickly. I'll see why not.
And it would be my hope that, well, we've already seen some changes with the new deputy treasurer, that some of the activities that Christie was doing
Right,
in terms of cash receipting is,
Oh, exactly.
being carried out now by Joelle.
I was gonna say.
I was gonna say,
I'm
I'm,
taking in maybe a couple dozen receipts.
yeah, since Joelle's been here on December 11th. I think it was. Okay, right in there. Yeah. My duties up front have scaled back
Yeah, and I wanna
Yeah.
give
Like front
Ryan
office
credit for
portion.
that.
So,
I wanna thank Ryan for,
so thanks for bringing that up, Brian.
yeah, being a treasurer who's really carrying out
Mhm.
those responsibilities. So they don't fall on other staff.
Absolutely.
I feel like the conversation about, you know, the internal site visit and special meeting when only one person was available. There's a lot to talk about that, you know, about the reasons why, you know, I know for me, like, there were conversations I wanted to have about, you know, like licensure and staffing and performance and eco violations that I wasn't gonna have with members of the public. Also, certainly, Jillian, you're absolutely right, that if public were going to come, all public should be invited. I'm absolutely with you on that. I just had, you know, expected it to be an internal conversation since, you know, this multi-million-dollar proposal is one that we haven't, you know, we just got introduced to us, wanted to go see it. I would also say, for me, and I know Renee is here, member of the Compensation Commission, and Pam, I didn't know if John was going too, but I also, just as my own practice, like during this Compensation Commission period, I don't hang out with compensation commissioners, like on informal things, kind of like, you know, outside of the office, just for that period of time.
Are you making a conversation with me as a member in this meeting? Am I to respond or no?
No,
It's unfortunate you pointed it out to me,
Oh.
John.
I'm
just
sorry.
wondering if you're asking me and telling me, if that's something that should be known, that should be notified to the compensation committee people by Mariah. Or at least Jillian or something.
I
I'm
agree.
unaware of that.
I agree, and what I
that
want to
would have
say
been
is,
nice to have been
there
told.
there is no, and you're absolutely right, there is no written rule, there is no consensus. We've never even talked about it as a board. I would just say, hi, David. I would just say, for it, it is not anything written down at all. It is just my own, practice. We've had a compensation commission twice before. This is truly, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as an individual. So, but what I think the, you know, the supervision to the office coordinator, I know when Joyce was here, definitely, you know, utilities is a complex operation. It takes a lot of time, a lot of meetings. She spent, you know, multiple meetings a week, I think, with our utilities director. And so, you know, because of the performance issues, the ego violations, these things, because it's, for me, it's really not about Friday meeting or anything like that, this issue here. It's really much more about providing really kind of consistent supervision and direction. And I think Christie's really stepped up and proven that she's kind of able to take this on now and would like to get this kind of last operational department under Christie.
So I'll just make a comment that, I'm in support of this, and regarding a tour, the most important thing to me was Scio's infrastructure, and I thought that's what we were doing, is Scio's infrastructure. And it was not revealed to me that any members of the public were invited. That was not shared with the board. That was a communication problem. But the most important thing was show me what's in Scio Township before I go to somebody else's township to see what they're doing, because I need a better understanding of the infrastructure here. And so that whole meeting somehow morphed into something I never anticipated it was going to be.
From my understanding, and I had the list that Christie gave me regarding who was gonna be going at 10 o'clock on Friday. Okay, and my understanding was that we were going to do a tour of our facility and then go to Superior.
That was my understanding too, that it was that Christie had arranged, I didn't know, maybe 3 different groups.
There was 3.
Yeah.
to do that.
So what appeared to happen to me is the tour was overwritten, that meeting was overwritten by a called special meeting.
Yes.
And
the
that
reason that-
special meeting was not the tour. That's not what the intent, the purpose of it said.
Yes, it did.
I
I
wasn't
did put
inclusive
that
of
in
all.
there with the address.
Yeah.
And I put
it was in
everything
there.
in there because the Open Meetings Act, in order for us to be together as a quorum and also invite the public, I was doing this based on some classes I just took with the Open Meetings Act. In fact, they had a similar situation about a tour to a sewer and water facility, and that's how they
That's the
set
way
it
to
up.
do it. Yep.
But when there was two different groups, and then there was a big uproar about these residents being invited and then uninvited with, who ordered Christie to uninvite them?
People don't order Christie to do things.
Well, that's what, Christie, you had a conversation with Pam, and I didn't know about any of this until a resident had contacted me. So Christie, I know that you're only doing what has been instructed because you're supposed to report to the board. I don't know how this whole tour thing came up as far as the planning or whatnot, but I understand that it was, to break up. This is my understanding.
Well, I never put quorum together unless I'm asked to by the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never directed by the board to have quorum. So having two separate groups, and the third group came up, just as Kathy explained it. Kathleen Brandt was not available in the afternoon on the third. Kathy Knoll was not available in the morning. So I was like, well, just to get this done in one day, I'll do a group in the morning and a group in the afternoon, accommodate both schedules. And we can do this in one day and be done, rather than dragging it on to 3 different days. So that's how that came about.
So it was brought up to me about quorum, so that we wouldn't have quorum.
You
That's-
never have
Can I-
quorum unless I'm directed to by the
Right,
board.
Right, and can I
Okay,
say
but,
one
so
note?
this is, okay, no, let me finish. So really, this is a cluster of all of us and everybody that has contributed based on their own understanding. That's what I'm hearing. But what I'm also hearing is that, because you had your ideas, I had the list from you, I knew who was there in the morning, there was a majority, there was 3 of them. So I was coming from the point of, the Open Meetings Act and upholding that statute. Because based on what I had heard in the past. But see, something like this should probably be brought to the whole board. Let's have a tour. This is the idea. How do we go about this?
Good idea.
So, and this is what I'm also hearing from employees, is that there's all these unwritten rules that they don't, they do something and then they feel like they're being reprimanded for
I
it.
don't,
Can I,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I just want to clarify something about the OMA. And just as the person responsible for publishing notices. So there's a couple things, like one, when the board, and I'm not talking about this tour, because I just thought that it was a tour for a couple of us, for the utility director to show us. So, but for example, like when we had an employment training, that Aurora had arranged, I don't know, last fall. Whenever there's an instance, which is super rare, I think it happens like once or twice a year, where any majority of the board members are gonna be in the same place. If we're all at a barbecue together or at a training together, anything that comes to my awareness, I publish a notice. And I say, a majority of the Board of Trustees may be present in this time and place for this purpose. So that's what I did for the Bill Thacker training. When we were all invited, Jillian and you and me were here, Donna, Will, in this room. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were all sitting in different corners. We weren't even sitting next to each other.
No, but nevertheless, even though we weren't gonna talk about board business, that's publicly noticed. So that's a way to always do that. And so there's that public noticing, and then there's the calling a public meeting. And so there's several ways, and I agree that, I think Christy was working hard with Brandon to try to get these tours scheduled over the holidays, and everybody was stretching and trying to get it done. So I think it was all, good intentions, but I agree, we can talk about it at a board meeting more to kind of lay out the details in the future.
so this discussion, I honestly hoped it would be that it would be a positive discussion, that we can talk about collaborating. The tour was ill-conceived, I believe, in its execution. And, you know, I declined when I found out that the public was invited, but only some of the public. I gave that notice in a reasonable amount of time so that I would just tell you, I'm not gonna be there. If others decline, then you had plenty of time to cancel that. But my understanding was that the tour was canceled. And my understanding was that it was our own infrastructure primarily first, and that's what I needed. So I'm hoping we can try to move forward with this and get back to collaborating as a team. That would be my ultimate goal.
And it sounds like the discussion that we were trying to have here was around the idea of recommending supervision of the utility director for this interim period of time
Mhm.
to the office coordinator with the understanding that the HR generalist is available to support.
But the
Ryan-
HR generalist is available to support all department heads, because when you
That's
say
true.
to support utilities, it sounds like that utility director is being targeted.
No,
No, that's not the intent.
no.
Let's just stay with the reporting requirement. Relationship is.
So Ryan,
I'd be
you haven't
support-
said anything.
I'd
Could
be
you
s-
speak to this issue a bit?
I can speak to this, so, I would be supportive of Brandon reporting to Christie, or the utility director rather, reporting to Christie. I'm supportive of it for several reasons. One reason is does make our reporting structure not simplified, but more standardized is probably the better word choice. We have other departments that report to Christie. It streamlines how that reporting structure works. Christie is available and able to help out a lot. There's a lot that's coming up on all of our plates over the next couple of months. But I think it just frees up time for all of us to work on the budget, all of us to work on the finance and capital improvement plan. It also gives Brandon's utility director rather some support on getting more assistance, because Christie is here in the office all day, every day. Julie, you are certainly here a lot, but sometimes in the morning.
No, I'm still working at home for 2 hours
Sure.
before I even get here, and I'm here until 9 o'clock at night.
And that's.
And I have a cell phone that everybody has the number, 2 cell phones actually.
But I would be supportive of this change in reporting structure.
Could we review the reporting, everybody that's reporting under Christie?
Sure. Currently, it's fire, project manager, parks, Fran, so admin assistant,
Would be IT,
not yet.
right?
That's probably later today, but and then IT and then utility director.
So it's similar to what the positions we've always had report to a manager,
All department heads.
all the department heads. The exception, I think, is we have a consultant, Laura, the planner reporting to Kathy, and then the consulting engineer, both to the utilities director and Kathy for planning issues. Utility directors always supervise the engineer for the engineer.
Say that about, again, utilities, what, engineer?
It's in our resolution, but it's from what we put in the beginning is that our engineer, you know, the utilities director has always overseen the kind of the monthly township engineer work that they do for utilities. Brandon's always kind of overseeing that.
Okay.
But in terms of the engineering work that's done for like, development proposals,
For land use.
land use,
Exactly. Land use and planning, zoning.
yeah.
And the other thing is I attend the Ann Arbor Utilities and Scio Utilities monthly meetings
With Brandon,
with Randy
yeah, and Jillian,
and Matt.
you have, I don't know if
Well,
they happen.
She went to one.
Yeah,
Went to one.
they happen so
I
infrequently.
guess I don't need to go anymore. If the board, votes on this, which is, seems like you already have your minds made up, so. HR reports to,
The board,
and when we have code enforcement,
board, that one, well,
You had it.
well, we need to get to our next agenda item to talk. I think we had in here. The proposal is it would report to the administrator, director of
Right,
operations.
currently. Are you asking for future, Julian, or current?
Because currently we don't,
are we in the process of hiring code enforcement?
We're reviewing it.
Reviewing. Yeah, so that's coming up really fast.
But in the meantime, we don't, the position is not filled, there's no report.
If you did fill it, they would report to the board until.
Right.
I mean, the way it's structured now.
I hope we're able to fill that soon.
Well, we have additional things to cover. Could someone, is anyone interested in making a motion to make this reassignment?
I would just make the motion that was presented to assign Christy Aiken to supervise the. Where is director of utilities or utilities director? What would be
Utilities
the
director.
utilities department?
Utilities director.
Utilities director.
You said director before.
Ryan, could I offer a friendly suggestion to replace Christie's name with the title of office coordinator?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Or put both, Christy Aiken in / office coordinator.
Okay.
You accept that friendly
I
amendment?
accept that.
Can we have?
Oh, second.
Okay, let's put this to a vote. Can it be a voice vote? Or does anyone decide?
If anybody wants a roll call vote. they
Oh,
can.
let's do roll call.
Okay.
Um.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I'm
No, you're-
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Carrie,
No,
Gable,
Yes.
Flintoff, yes, Grant,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
motion adopted 4-1.
Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is now numbered F3. So we reviewed this as a starting point, the prior job description, and we've made a number of adjustments to that. I presented the new version, it's in the packet, which would take out all of the items that were agreed to be removed. In addition to what we agreed last time, which was the work location, Scio Township, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I added content about this position, engaging with the public, to resolve and to make disposition of any of their requests.
Thank you for integrating all these edits.
I know last time we talked about contract management, and I see you
Mhm.
put in kind of the ballpark estimated to be 40% of the job duties. And I agree, like our contract management is really where it's at with our engineer and, you know, cable franchise and all these big contracts with City of Ann Arbor. I would recommend we not include the actual 40% in the job description. Because it can become a point of contention or negotiation, or at least questions. Aurora, have you had a chance yet to take a stab at revising these?
I did, I didn't get a chance to speak, with everyone, but I did have some revisions and looked at the position summary. I know it indicates 8 to 5 PM, but actually our hours are till 4.
I did that intentionally and I would like to discuss it because I would see this position, actually, there would be a need to be here during those hours, regular business hours, even if the staff has left. Oftentimes, the public doesn't know that we close at 4.
That's true.
But I would think it's reasonable that this position may be inclined to take a lunch hour, which I would encourage, and this is an exempt position, which means that in my interpretation, oftentimes you work more than 40 hours, that's the expectation. So this defines those hours as required on site beyond 4 PM. So we can, yeah, I put that in there and I definitely wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm open-minded. I notice, you know, being here a lot that, you know, it's really when our folks in utilities start at 7, you know, that's when sometimes not having management, other support here. But yeah, I'm open-minded about it. I just want to make sure that the person knows that there's regular expected hours and additional hours beyond.
So we're also expecting that this person would regularly attend township board meetings.
Which is in there.
So we're describing more than a 40-hour work week is what I'm saying.
It's an exempt position.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All of my professional career, I've been exempt.
Me too.
And I have worked a lot of hours, depending on the needs and my own sense of what needs to be accomplished.
So then why do we have to have this person from 8 to 5? Because if we have this in the job description and it's on our website, residents are gonna see that and expect to talk with that person past 4 o'clock when we're closed.
Which,
That's true.
So if they're going to, if they're gonna be working more hours, but you want them to work here in Township Hall. No work at home.
we discussed this at the last meeting.
Okay, but you have 8 to 5, so that's what I'm trying to clarify.
I wonder if, just to kind of get at what both of you are putting forth, is maybe there's a way to say, you know, work location, Scio Township Hall. Or like regular, you know, work location, Scio Township Hall, regular hours. Monday, Township Hall, open hours, 8 to 4, plus board meetings, plus additional meetings, or plus, I don't know, I mean, because I like the idea of making it clear that we want the person to be available, but I appreciate the conflict that we're setting up that Jillian's pointing out. If our hours are that we close at 4, but we're saying somebody's gonna be available at 5.
I'd like to ask Aurora this, I guess, could you see? Some of this can be in the job description, but some of this normally would be presented either in the interview or on an offer letter or some combination thereof, correct?
Correct.
So I think there's setting expectations and then there's the detail and the specifics that we communicate and then expect to.
And also, I would probably be more comfortable too with reviewing this with, the attorney
Mhm.
too, to make
Good.
sure that we're covering everything and there isn't anything we're leaving out. So I would say we could probably go back to the hours and at least get the summary and all the other things in place.
I think that sounds good.
Aurora, you said that you had some other changes. Is there anything?
Well, what Aurora kindly offered to do was take a stab at rewriting the position summary.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at the rest of it. So I do have some.
Oh, good.
We probably won't have time today, but I could,
Sure, go ahead.
so definitely for the position summary, I was recommending the township administrator is responsible for the day-to-day operations, including providing effective methods in the administration of, Scio Township government.
Good.
And then the other is the next sentence is the same. The incumbent will develop, interpret, and implement township policies and procedures, and ensure compliance with these policies as well as statutes and ordinances. I know. So we can change that. We could leave that out to the town. We could just start again with the
Like-
township administrator will develop. We can start with
Yeah,
that
that's,
again.
that's fine. And I think procedures rather than policies. I would say develop, interpret, implement township procedures, ensure compliance with township policies, statutes, ordinance.
I like that.
Mhm.
Because the board sets the policy and procedures are in compliance.
I wasn't sure if we really needed that next sentence since it's not really indicating the petition summary will directly impact the effective functioning. I think that's more expectations of the job,
Agree,
you know, in general, not
Yeah.
position summary.
agree.
The township administrator will work to improve the operational systems and processes. This kind of repeated.
Yes.
So, I don't know if this is necessary to, but if you're going to, you could say support the township's mission. And then just indicating by developing reports, communication strategies, and organizational planning.
Mhm.
You're not repeating the above part of that sentence. Township administrator is responsible for the various areas of operations, but may not necessarily be performing individual tasks, and may delegate as needed. I thought that was a key sentence. Is that will happen frequently. It's
So just to be clear, we're looking for a township administrator and not a manager.
No, we were just taking this as the previous draft, and I thought we had consensus on calling it Director of Operations, so we would just change that in the position summary.
right, whatever we're going, yes, whatever we're going to decide on. I recall that also.
Kathy, would you agree with the title?
The director of operations, so it won't be a manager.
It's fine. I mean, given what we're describing, it's consistent with the director of operations.
And that goes back to what Diane Benson originally recommended back in 21 when she did this work for us. It also, I think what's nice is it helps us cast the net a little more widely rather than kind of like long-term kind of county manager, city manager people. It kind of broadens the net for people with different experiences. But I mean, I defer to Aurora, you know, I'm kind of title.
We talked about that last time also, the director of operation.
Yeah, the only, I mean, statutorily, like the manager, you know, there isn't any absolute powers of the manager in the statute. The one thing this committee needs to determine is the township, if we want to have this replace the township manager, section 2 of our ordinance. Because this would be, and this is something we've talked about before, that we would, it is a little odd in our ordinance. We have one job description in all of our ordinances. It doesn't say we'll always have a fire chief or a water
Mhm.
operator. It says we will have a township manager and they'll do these things. So I would just say practically to not create a conflict, whenever the board's ready to go forward with this, that we should also probably just repeal that section.
Yeah, we talked about doing that at the same time we adopt
Okay.
this job description. Okay, Aurora, you said you had other feedback on other items?
Yes, I wasn't sure, and this probably isn't going to be resolved today. So the supervisor's oversight. This is where the director of utilities is included here potentially. I kind of highlighted human resources, included it only because it's part of staff and operations. So I know we're not going to resolve that here, but I thought that probably should at least be a consideration.
So you're saying to include HR? Yeah, and the fire department, I think, should go under this too. I mean, we're gonna have everybody else except the fire department.
I mean, I think it's a decision. At our last meeting, we talked about, the concept of keeping human resources reporting directly to the board. At a prior meeting that I had missed, and I know Judy had some clear thoughts about this, a rationale for fire reporting directly to the board too. But we should all probably have more conversation
Yeah,
about both
because
of those.
I've updated the notes from previous meetings in consensus, and that's where we fell on consensus.
Probably what'll end up happening is we end up having another conversation, however it is. When hopefully everybody can make it to firm up, finalize something like that, right?
Right. And I'll just say again, with human resources, the conflict always is, this board has never delegated its performance evaluation, hiring, firing, basic HR functions. And in all the versions of the administrator and manager's job descriptions, including this one, it's not delegated here. And so having an HR person below a manager to a board, I think is a recipe for kind of stifling employee concerns and other things when the board needs to hear about them. So I think it's one way or the other. We can either delegate that authority or the board can keep that authority, but keep the information flowing directly from HR.
Okay. What else do you have?
In the next page, the administration.
Uh-huh.
So I noticed the departments, so office coordinator isn't included and obviously IT isn't.
Sorry, Aurora, what page are you on?
The second under responsibilities at the top, administration, so list all the departments.
There you go.
So this is where, Jessica, I kind of, if we were going to put HR under this role, where I, included, collaboration and development in human resources policy and implementation, if we were going to have it.
That sounds good.
And then for this person, their own department, assist in recruiting, hiring, training of staff within areas of responsibility. As part of the.
Yeah, from my notes, we had the whole topic of training. We were clearly undecided on where to put that.
This, and then leave that track implementation of all board of trustees approved actions, organize and chair management meetings currently bi-weekly. And then I added this, Judy's not here, but it was in response to something she had indicated. Respond to email, in-person and phone inquiries and disposition of requests.
Yep.
Would that be, well, I guess
under administration.
Yeah, but we have engaged with the public and make dispositions of their requests. Is that what you're
I'll
referring
be
to?
taking that out, yeah,
Thinking-
I took that out since I kind of included it here.
Okay.
Yeah, that was at the very end.
Mhm.
And then, the last bullet point was advice on interdepartmental processes within the township. Under the purchasing agent, there was part of a definition.
I took that out.
Yeah, so I thought, so we have, act as the purchasing agent for the township, and then I put by. And then I thought we could still indicate develop an RFQ/RFP, that part of that, first bullet point in the old description. So develop an RFQ/RFP based on requisite needs, find suitable vendors/service providers, distribute RFQ and manage bid responses, submit bid results to the BOT, create purchase order based on the BOT directed vendor, price, terms and conditions. I thought we could include that in there still with the understanding that obviously this could be done by, the duties could be given to, someone else, whomever it is. Utilities.
I'm glad you like that, because I wrote that.
Yes, yeah, I know. So I kept it from the last meeting.
Okay, anything else?
The second bullet point that was there was collaborate with others in the township to guide compliance with bidding procedures. And then I just took out and purchasing duties, because that,
Mhm.
kind of didn't.
Agreed.
Okay.
And that's set forth by our policy anyways. It's the supervisor
Right.
of the office. Coordinator.
There was something else that was there that I wasn't sure of. I think we took it out, conduct all sales of personal
We
property.
put that down with asset and risk management, coordinate disposition of property.
Okay. Okay,
So I just took it out of there.
right. Contract management, I did what you had indicated too, just took out that estimated to be 40%, yeah.
Yep, took it out.
Um, Coordinate and administer township contract negotiations, applications to the township. And then I put contract examples include. And then I left Ann Arbor Waste and Sewer,
Mhm.
trash and recycling, PUD development agreements.
Yeah, we put that in there, and actually Judy had more examples in her
Yeah.
meeting minutes.
And I
which
don't
thought-
know that applications to the township is, I think it's really more contract negotiations, bid preparation, contract negotiations, under direction of the board. I mean, some of the contract examples. Yes. I just don't want to get in conflict with any of, like, our PUD ordinance or our waste management ordinance. Right, like our PUD ordinance has a specific application process and how those things are
We took
negotiated,
that out.
as does our waste management ordinance.
If you were talking about such as zoning applications, I took all that
Yeah.
out.
Okay,
But the PUD development agreements were left in.
yeah. I would say the PUD development agreements is something that is, well, I don't know. It's kind of tricky. It's after the planning commission process. And then it's at the board.
But some of these do require some monitoring and.
That's really
Fulfillment.
between planning, but it's our planner, right, who does the monitoring and then, we track whatever's money's due and get it collected.
It's not always just about money.
No,
Right.
that's the easy part. The harder part is compliance.
Yeah.
And I think that may have been left in there because of the supervisor's oversight. In that first page has consulting contracts and it includes planning in there, so maybe that's why this was still in there with the EU. So I didn't follow that, so
Maybe we should look at that a little bit more. Sure.
the next two bullet points, I have the same, continually study and provide input to the board of trustees, et cetera. Ascertain that all terms and conditions imposed in favor of the contract, I let that in there. And then in the next one, I just included and execute, prepare, review and execute contracts and subcontracts for authorized disbursements for services rendered. You wanted to go to the next step,
Somehow I took out the word execute. It was in there.
yeah, I wasn't sure when it was in there or when it wasn't, so.
It was in there.
So in the previous description, it had this other sentence and I wasn't sure on that. Prepare and process all necessary documents for fiscal payments to vendors. And, oh, and provide fiscal budgetary controls. I almost couldn't read my. That was in there previously, I think.
Yeah.
Did we want that one in there still or no?
You mean for the contract compliance?
Yeah,
authorized-
contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go back and look at the notes and, you know, folks, it's 25 after. I know we have another meeting. Can we pause this discussion? We'll go through another update of the document, bring it back.
Do we want to decide on a subsequent meeting date?
Sure.
What'd you say, Ryan? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, did we want to decide on a subsequent meeting date?
Yeah, and I would also ask if people could come with it's okay with you, Kathleen, like their thoughts about kind of compensation,
Yeah.
just so we can button this up and get this rolling. Okay.
Okay, so let's look at the calendar. Do we have a proposed, we've been meeting on Mondays.
I can't do it on the 20th, but I could on the 13th or the 27th.
The 20th is a holiday.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That's what you can do. Thank you.
Well, I mean, this is all part of me adding something to say, let's get a handle on how long are we gonna do this?
I'd be happy to have it on the 13th.
Please, Jeff.
Fine.
Okay, so,
Want to do it at 2 o'clock? I don't care about it.
It should be okay. I don't get my.
okay,
We
so,
can set it tentatively and take a chance to check.
right,
What are you looking at?
13th at 2.
You have access to my
2 p.m.
calendar.
I don't have access to your calendar.
You don't have your
I don't
computer
know.
with you? Okay.
well, that's something you can give permission in your own profile.
No, I do have, I just don't have our computers here.
But I mean, okay,
The 13th. So next Monday?
At 2.
That's you, sorry.
That's fine.
okay. So I think we're done with all our business regarding the discussion. And we'll postpone further discussion to the next scheduled meeting. So now we're at the time for public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to give public comment?
Good afternoon. I am Renee Klubeck, and I hope I have everyone's attention. I'm a resident in Scio Township. I have supported this board, this new board, for over a year and a half consistently. I came here today not expecting what I heard. I'm taking a breath, but I want to say this. I supported this group for transparency, honesty, and community. That includes the word resident. I have been referenced personally to legal, as we reference it, twice in less than 3 weeks. So I feel I have the opportunity to reply to what's been said here today. Let me be very clear. I have supported Christie from day one, from the first time it was talked about the admin people that had not received wages. This conversation is not addressed to you, Christie, in your current profile, and I want to make that very clear. This has nothing to do with you. It involves everyone else at this table. Let me be open and transparent. I am a part of the resident for people that keeps being referenced here, and I want to make it clear that I am one. I surmise you all know the other 3, but that's not my job. I am here to talk about myself. I will watch the clock, but I have sat here and waited. I am upset. Let me let you know that I would like to bring clarity, particularly to Trustee Knoll, on a few details that in this rush of information, none of you took the opportunity to perhaps look at more than one side of the coin, and I'm concerned and disappointed on where we're headed in this new beginning. So I would like to give you a few positive facts that you're unaware of. You've already made a decision that I don't agree with and I don't support. And I think you need to have some more information. So I'm going to do it as quickly as I can and tell you what I want to bring to this. First of all, I missed the last board meeting due to a medical need in my family. But I watched the meeting and I saw things regarding the utilities department that I had no clue about. I'll admit that. But I learned a lot by watching it. And I really thought I need to know more and I need to understand better. And as you all may know, I am going to be on this committee. I'm unaware of how people may feel. I don't know much about it at all, but I'm trying to be involved in this township and do my part to get a fair and just commissions to all of you. I was asked to come over and see an interior utilities tour that I know nothing about. And I was thrilled. It was great. No big deal. Do you know, we got to shake hands, put a face to people's names, saw the locations, came aware of, oh my gosh, you guys don't have any room. You don't have, I mean, it was a wonderful, positive thing that was offered by the director of the utilities department. Let me tell you, Colin Powell, Chair of Joint Chiefs of Staff, as my husband refers to often, says, surround yourself with quality people and you will reach your heights. You have wonderful department heads. And I think that is being missed, number one. Number two, when that happened, it was very evident to us as residents, whether it's because you don't particularly want to be around me, but there were other people. You know, it was like we were in the way, we were in the wrong place. And that's how we all felt. And I need to say that and go on record. And it was the best thing we could have done. It's like going to the fire department and hearing what's going on. Let me then tell you that when our Department of Utilities head, the residents were informed by someone other than him, he was embarrassed. And I don't blame him. I would be too. I think any of you would be if you were undercut. But with that said, we understood, as one of Trustee Brandt explained, that we want to make sure we follow all the rules because boy, this township hasn't done it. Let's make sure we're doing it correctly and fairly. So we said, okay. And you know what I did? I got on the telephone and I called Superior Township. And I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I've just seen a train wreck out there after I've seen thousands of dollars passed for public restrooms and everything else. And I'd like to just point out the fact that I made a phone call to Superior Township, just me, nobody else. So if you want to know, it's me. I'd like to direct this to Trustee Knoll. I just called and said, there seems to be some confusion and I don't know how it goes everywhere. What happens if we come over to see your building? I was told by them, we have an open facility at all times to public. I said, I don't live in Superior, doesn't matter. We're welcome. We show lots of people what's going on over there. We show them what we have, what we've done with this much money. We're happy to have you come in. When the meeting was canceled, I know I'm over and I'm sorry and I will hurry. But when the meeting was canceled that us four came to because we knew we were the problem, and that's how we felt, even though we had had an apology both from the department head and from our township supervisor, who we have voted for and brought to a new difference than we've been leading. We came to the special meeting and respected it, okay? We respected coming. Let me tell you, you can say all you want. I heard all the tit for tat and all that stuff, but let's all be clear. Nobody showed up here except our township supervisor and our department head of utilities. All good, okay? Nothing gets voted, we understand. I looked at him and I said, I got a car and I'm going to Superior Township. And everybody else had set their time aside to be at a meeting to get an approval, which if legal says that and legal didn't show up, you know, we're having to talk about if that's legal or not, and they didn't show up. Here we are again, right back at the beginning where we were, what, how many, a year ago? 5 years ago? And we as residents in separate cars with no permission drove to Superior Township. No one gave us permission. Now, we were given permission to be in this building, but the last I checked, I can't believe that that would be a problem. So I want to be very clear. Not the township supervisor, not the department head of utilities gave us permission to drive there. So I would greatly appreciate that someone would put in some minutes, some corrections, so that you at least have the right to, you want to make your decisions, that's fine, but let's keep the facts. Let's work on transparency, honesty, and community. And I hope that this is not a direction we are going to go down, because I'm going to tell you something. I learned so much that day that will bring something here. If you want to protect yourself, I get it. But while we're arguing about what was called and everything, this meeting that's supposed to come to order at 3:30, I believe met the legal guideline that I have researched and found is 18 hours. Maybe you need to review and you need 7 days before a special meeting, unless the whole township's falling apart with no heat, no water, no sewer. But I'm going to tell you, as a resident, it has disappointed me, made me feel awkward in this building now. And I felt a little awkward before on a situation, and you know what I did? I took a breath and I understood everything going on. And I said, I support these people, I support this township, and my personal being upset about something, I put it to the side. So I want to encourage all of you to remember, we believed in all of you. It ain't easy to start new, and you've got tons. I'm not asking Aurora why she hasn't gotten back to me since November 18th on an issue that I spoke to her in a private meeting about, because I'll take being at the bottom of the pile. I spoke about it in an August township meeting and it was never addressed. I got that. But I understand there are priorities. I understand that what happened on something I was uncomfortable with, I'd like to know, who do I talk to about it? And seeing this, just be careful what path you're going down. And please understand that we are passionate about this, even though we're not getting a paycheck. And if you have any more questions, I'm sure you know the other residents, you can ask, but I want you to know, I want to go on record. No one, not the supervisor nor the department head, told me to go. My husband and I drove our own car, asked our own questions, and we had multiple things that were responded to. We learned a ton. And you know what? We learned because we hope to make the utilities department better and be able to explain it to other residents. That's what you asked us to do when we voted for you. I'm sorry I'm passionate and I'm sorry I took this time, but I needed to go on record. If you have any more questions for me regarding last Thursday and Friday, I will be happy to tell you how it affected what we learned, how we met, how we knew how money goes. Please feel free to reach out to me. You all know how to find me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the public? in Township Hall that would like to speak?
All right, online we have Jonathan Greenberg. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I'll try to be similarly brief to my previous opening comments. I still wish you all a happy new year. However, this isn't what I worked for. This today isn't what I was working for the last few years. And it's terribly disappointing to me. And if any of the elected officials in this room would like to speak with me, please reach out, because I'd like to share with you why I am so disappointed without being public about it.
Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Next up is Paula. Go ahead, Paula.
Yeah, on a different note, but it has to do with sewers. I've been following him for a long time because of when they tried to remove us off the Ann Arbor sewer system. And I actually did a lot of research and time. I met with it. I had a tour of the Ann Arbor facility, and as you know, they're going to be building I don't know where they're at on it currently, the new one. But anyway, so that's good if people go and get involved with this sewer situation. Actually, I'm not to disrespect anybody else's comments, but you know, everything's on a learning curve and it's good for everybody to explore it. And then just real quick, I want to thank Ryan Yapel as the new treasurer and Joelle that you got the taxes out so we could pay them before the first of the year. So thank you on that. And that's it.
Paula. Thank you, Paula. Next up is
Thanks,
Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Pam Boyd. Wow. Kathy Knoll, Jessica Flintoff. Do you remember in 2021, 2022, when the then supervisor and his crew blindsided you and made you guys and your opinions insignificant? Well, I just relived that with this meeting. And but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all a failing grade. And Supervisor Carrie, I'm going to add you in on that because somebody, and I'm adding in even those who are not here today, because somebody, you would think somebody would have said, wait a minute, we've gotten off a track. All right, we've got this faction, we've got this. All right, how can we work together and bring everybody together instead of this bitch session? I'm sorry. So I have started, which came about during that meeting, that last board meeting, CIP, I've started Ruggies, Resident Utility Group Education Scio. And it is my task to start encouraging residents to come and visit Scio Township Utilities Department, whether you're septic and well or actual municipal water, to come and learn, because you know what, it looks like the utilities department might need to spend some money here, which back in 2019, my very first board meeting, during public comments, there was a utilities employee who came up and passionately was so upset at the board for not doing what they said they were going to do, for he was not being treated well. I do not want to see Brandon not be treated well or pointed out unfairly. So, as far as my husband, who is on the Compensation Commission, I did not invite him, nor did I discuss this with him. And Christy, again, as Renee said, I'm not upset at you, but I did hear in the conversation that there were some people who didn't want me to come, and that's okay. It goes back to my, okay, you all have failed in this meeting. There are a couple of different ideas and factions. What do? You regroup. You go back and you say, okay, this isn't working, but we want it to work. And we know we have some passionate residents who've been through hell the last 4 years, who are just really active, and they want to be a part. And we can, when Christy called me and said, hey, there's some, you need to be uninvited. Okay, fine. I had no problem of going to Superior Township myself. You know me, I'm not afraid of that. I didn't like the smells. So I hope all of you, I expect all of you to do a better job in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pam.
Anyone else?
I see no other hands raised.
Apologies to everyone for running over on this meeting. I should have closed the discussion earlier.
Motion to adjourn?
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thanks, Christy.
Take 5 minutes. Sure.
It was the permanent manager committee meeting. We were reviewing, the township operations director or whatever. And then Christy gave her report, and then they talked about reassigning positions.
There's no way.
No, that's for when they're going to take action. Decided. Or
Not the 3:30, was gonna be that discussion.
Anyway.
So since they were recording.
Right.
This is what they posted.
I thought at 3:30 they were having full conversations.
For the purpose of discussing and potentially.
So they've already had the discussion.
Why would they have it before? So they're gonna have.
Why do I have two of these? No.
That's weird.
Not really.
I got some thought, of course.
That would be mine. That would be mine.
Sorry.
Well, and it can.
So now the decision is gonna be. Now they're gonna have a decision.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a text from, you do this at home, you're Kathleen, she's Kathleen.
So the 3:30 meeting was for the purpose of discussing the.
Really about And I felt that.
And now.
And I understand
This
this.
next meeting, you're just gonna
I
decide.
know. That's okay.
Yeah, they were on here. But I'll be looking at their.
Right, that's posted on the website.
They didn't have that. I don't know.
Well, it's over. But it is, you're all, this is exactly.
Use.
I just have a problem. It is unspoken, and I felt this was sad. I just wanted to make sure. That's what's online. Number one, we got such education from when we were. That was great.
So.
Yeah, I mean, but it just, well. You could always, you know, it was, because that was, and we went over.
So then just started talking about what was gonna be at the 3:30 meeting ahead of time.
Well,
they
kind
discussed
of,
it.
no, yeah, you weren't here. Yeah, well, this is all I'm saying. Yeah, there's.
Talk about, yeah.
So, yeah, well, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And.
Well, it says on the special meeting discussion.
And just, I wanted to make it very clear that.
Yeah, but we have a whole meeting, so.
Right, and that's right.
Okay. And I can, I appreciate that, I do, and I totally agree.
Yeah, but they already voted on it.
Yeah, it's, I did put it in. No,
Well, see, I'm logged in as me. I can grab her number.
Well, to be fair, you guys.
Well, here's
Well, but when it was brought up about removing the utilities from, there was, so then we have to go back because.
He just went there.
Yeah.
And really, you guys are using that.
But it wasn't specific.
Stuff, so you're.
If the special meeting was called for.
I understand, but we're the residents, we have to do it. And anytime, you know, like I said,
It sounds like.
it's difficult for us.
That's how we get.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I got.
They called a special meeting.
No.
Yeah.